What's up, guys? You're just hanging out at the house. It's a lovely Wednesday evening. It's been a very quick week so far. We got a lot going on. I'm sure you guys have had a lot going on too. It has been, I think, a busy week for just about everybody between getting an extra hour of sleep last weekend, Halloween, and obviously with election day, with voting and everything else. I think everybody has just been pretty well cooked, and it's only Wednesday. But we've got great news. That just means we're that much closer to the weekend. You're gonna glide right through Thursday. Friday ain't gonna be a thing, and the next thing you know, it's the weekend. What are you guys doing this weekend? I got 2 shows going on this weekend. We'll dive into a little bit of that. Um, it's weird when you have a weekend off. It's nice to get recharged and everything else, but I feel like I'm waking up from a deep sleep as I wander in to the next show. What's up, Dave? How you doing, man? I got my chat screen over here and my camera over here. So if you see me look over here, I'm seeing you guys. So good to see you, bud. So yeah, it's gonna be which Dave is this? I know a few Daves. Um, so over the last week, had a lot going on. We'll get into some of that. I want to touch on a subject real quick because I've had a few people reach out in regards to my video about the Memphis Comic Expo. And I'm just going to reiterate, I have no ill will towards the folks at Memphis Comic Expo. I have heard nothing but great things about that show. I've also heard that this year was a little different. And I had some people reach out with what I'll refer to as insider information as to why there were the complications that there were. I'm not going to divulge those because it wasn't made. If you private message something like that to me, unless you specifically say, talk about this on your show, I'm not going to bring it up. But those folks had a lot more challenges than I think what a lot of people realize, which is one of those things you just got to keep it all in perspective. Is that sometimes there's bigger things going on behind the scenes. It's an unfortunate thing for just about everybody. But again, I have no ill will towards them. I hope they have a great show next year. Hopefully they can do it again. I don't know what they're going to be able to do as far as venue space, but absolutely no ill will there. So, that's right. That's right. I know which Dave this is. What's up, dude? Glad to have you in the chat. Joining me this evening, I know I've got one guest for sure who's in the back room right now. We'll be bringing him out here in just a second. Will be James sketching the beast. We'll be chatting it up. I'm not sure if Danielle got her internet issues resolved, so we may be seeing her, maybe not. And then Matt Slay might be joining us later. Just kind of depends on what time he gets done with his meeting. You like to think that once you become an artist, all the unexciting well, I don't know if it's unexciting. You might be having a very exciting meeting. But all the meetings and stuff you think go away. No. They just look different. But let's bring James in. We got him in the back room. James, what's good, brother?
What's going on, man?
Oh, you know. For the time being, I'm gonna slide this screen over here so I can see you and be facing the camera.
Rock on.
To figure out my setup once I'm going to bring up another screen.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out my setup either.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a lot easier if I made this over here like my behind the scenes screen so I can kind of see you and I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And then anything I'm going to screen share put over here. I don't know.
We'll get there.
One day, right? Yeah. How was the trick or treat, man?
Trick or treating went well. My kids are lazier bums than I was at their age.
Oh no. They weren't feeling it, huh?
So one of the houses had popcorn that they were giving out. Like they had like this big elaborate setup and tents
Yeah.
and stuff, and they were handing out popcorn and stuff. And by the time we hit that house, they had something that they could snack on, and that was
Yeah.
it. They were done. They were like, I
Like-
just want to eat my popcorn, dude. Can we go home and eat my popcorn now? Like, what's going on? I'm like, but you can get more candy.
Yeah, man. That was when we were kids. Our goal, we would have a pillowcase, and the goal was to get to the point where you could not manage to carry that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
first house, they were like, "Yep, seen it, done it. We're good."
Yeah, I mean, we got quite a bit of candy. I won't lie, but
Yeah.
it was like an hour in, and my kids were already like, "Yep, I got popcorn. I am good to go."
Scratch that itch.
Yeah.
How old are they?
So they are 2 and 5, going on 3 and 6.
That's a little different, I think.
Yeah, I mean they're still little, right? They don't 100% grasp the concept yet of I can do more.
Yeah,
I can
right.
have more. We'll have candy for the rest of our lives if we keep going.
Yeah, right. And that is, unless mom and dad have something to say about it. You got to take your tax out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did all the heavy lifting, right? We had lugging the kids around the entire
Got to buy them the costume.
Yeah.
Get them dressed up.
Get them in and out of the rolly cart. And
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of work, man.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
How old is too old for trick or treating?
I mean, honestly, I don't know, man. If you came up to my house and you were like, I don't know, 18, I think it'd still be good. But I don't know, older than that, I'm like,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, don't you have a means to like buy this candy on your own?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like
Once you're legally required to pay taxes, I feel like that's the
yeah. Once you can get your license and once you can buy smokes, man, you're out.
handing out cigarettes and the lottery tickets.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing about where I live in Akron. I'm right in the middle, like university town. Like it's all dorm living, not dorm living, but like the apartments that students can rent and stuff.
Yeah.
It's an interesting setup because like I got this townhouse here and I'm completely surrounded by college life. And then it gets a little sketchy. It's Akron.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of like abandoned lots and stuff. So it gets a little dicey. But it's like trick or treat around us, it would just be like college kids.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're not gonna want what I'm handing out. They're like, don't you have some stuff, man?
Yeah, man. Where's the good stuff? Where's the cigars?
Like I got Reese's Pieces, dude.
the full size candy bars.
Yeah, right. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right.
It was real blustery here, though, so we didn't really. I don't know. I'm sure there was people out partying, but it was like super windy here.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm grateful the weather held out. It rained just a tiny bit before trick or treating started, and then it was perfectly nice. I was actually sweating because I was wearing this old Deathstroke costume I had from like years ago. I'm like, I'll throw something on, right? And man, it was like 74 degrees. It was like the hottest it's ever been on Halloween. I swear to God.
Yeah.
And I was just drenched in sweat, dude. I'm like,
dude, I don't know how these cosplayers do it. Like, especially the ones that are wearing jackets and coats.
Yeah, especially in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
Like
the probably the most miserable one I consistently see is going to be the guys that are dressed up like Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord.
Oh, yeah, full on jacket ensemble. Yeah. Or similar to that would be the dude from Cyberpunk. I've seen that too. It's very similar jacket style. Yeah,
I've seen that one too. That's what people ask me, like, why don't you dress up behind a booth? I'm like, because I sweat.
Yeah,
that costume's going to be soaked
makes for a long, sweaty day.
Yeah. Have you ever done that? You do the cosplay behind the booth?
No. I wanted to do like I don't know, like just like a very worn down like Deadpool, where it's just like my t-shirt and like red pants or something at some point, because I got like the mask. But no, I've never done it.
It seems to be a bit much. I've got a buddy that he doesn't always do it, but he tends to go all out when he does do it. He's got like a Monster Hunter kind of vibe going on. He does a lot of cryptid art. Yeah. It's Chris with Loft 817. Okay. And it's really great stuff. And because he's all in on like that cryptid monster hunting vibe.
Yeah.
Like he almost looks like an old school steampunk meets Western sort of bounty hunter kind of look.
Yeah.
And it looks phenomenal. And it helps him sell what he's doing.
Oh, I'm sure.
I just can't bring myself to do anything like that.
Yeah. I feel like if you have a niche, like being in cosplay, it really would like, as long as you're dressed in that niche, like it would help push that along a little bit for sure, definitely.
Yeah, a little too much effort for me. So I think I saw you post something. Did you get something with your book finalized or what?
Yeah. So I got my proofs in. For my art book. Don't have it anywhere near me. Where the heck did that thing go? It's floating around here somewhere.
So it's for your art book that you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. So it's my art book. It's 24 pages of my art.
Nice.
And some commentary inside there. I did spend a little bit of time on it. Some guys I've seen, it's like they just throw a bunch of art into a book, and it's like, here's a bunch of art. I just was like, and nothing against that, right? Nothing against that. I just wanted to do something a little bit different. So, I spent a little bit of time, added some commentary. I had my editor.
Thanks, Dave. We'll see you around, dude. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Later, Dave. Had my editor kind of check it out and fix a couple things after I got my proofs in, of course. So I fixed a couple things. So the proofs are kind of garbage, but they're my test books. They're sketch blanks, so I'll test it out and see how it works.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all you gotta do is get the first thing printed, and it makes a big difference getting to see it actually in your hand.
Yeah. So yeah, I get the full order. Should be here next week, Monday.
Nice.
Of course, after my show.
That's right. You're at which con this weekend?
This week I got Twin Tiers Comic Con. It's in Horseheads, I think, New York.
Horseheads, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting name for a place.
Yeah. Is this a little 2-day show, 3-day show?
Yeah, it's a 2-day show. It takes place in like a mall, I guess. This is my first time going to it. They opened up extra spots, which is the only reason I got in. Because I guess they have like a show floor in the mall, and then I guess they're expanding it to the hallways of the mall. So I'm in the hallway, so we'll see how that goes. I guess could be good, could be bad. Could be good because I'm getting people waiting to go in the door, purchasing things from me before the show starts.
Right.
Of course, knowing me, I probably won't even be set up until the show starts. But but yeah.
Yeah, you never know. That was like the Cincinnati one that moved to Sharonville. It used to just be one big hall when they did it downtown, but once you go to Sharonville, they've got like a main room. They've got a smaller room that's more like how hotels have like the little like meeting rooms you can go into. Mm-hmm. It's like a decent sized one of those.
Oh, nice.
But then they had a lot of their creator tables and their artist alley tables like out in the halls. And some of them were actually really good spots. Others, not so good.
Yeah.
But you're going to have that any convention.
Yeah. Yeah. That really is what it comes down to. There's almost never I've never seen a convention where every area you can be in is a good area to be in. It just doesn't work out that way.
Right. Now, what I will say is there are some shows that smaller to mid-size shows, it almost doesn't matter. Like there's going to be hot spots, people coming in through the door, this, that, the other.
Yeah.
But it's like if it's only so big, people are going to take the time to actually hit every aisle.
Yeah.
You start doing these bigger like Fan Expo or Galaxy Con where you're talking major, like hundreds, if not thousands of vendors. There's no way somebody's going to see every table.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I know. It's like the Fan Expos, man. They're people go and they're usually there for one purpose, and then sometimes they wander around while they're waiting. That's kind of about as far as they go.
Yeah, you got to have a game plan because if you don't, like whatever money you brought, it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
Are you signed up for any Fan Expos next year?
I am not currently. I am in all of the Facebook messaging groups still for some reason. Even though I haven't signed up for a show in 2 years. I don't know if I'm gonna sign up for a Fan Expo. But I might have my wife sign up for a Fan Expo. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I have a hard time getting behind, and this is nothing against them. Them, it seems to work out pretty well with the Facebook Messenger thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do not enjoy being in any more different chains of communication than I have to be in.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's kind of nice because it's like once you're in,
right?
Kind of like it's kind of the vibe. It almost feels like, and like you're in, and you can just apply to whatever shows you want to,
right?
Assuming you get in. After that you apply, but that's kind of where I'm at too. Because then you're in the messaging group, and then like all of a sudden like you're getting messages all day long. And then you gotta mute the chat, and then it's kind of annoying. Yeah.
So the craziest one I've ever been a part of, and this is again, I don't fault anybody for choosing how they want to run their convention. To me, it's just kind of funny coming from a corporate world.
Yeah.
The Origins in Columbus, it's like a tabletop gaming festival.
Okay.
They the way that they do it, it's kind of nice and it's kind of miserable at the same time. And I'll explain myself here in case any of them are watching. It's nice because the way it works is if regardless of what kind of booth that you buy, the people get first pick of their spot are the first ones to have money paid. So you can have your application approved. If you dilly-dally with paying, it's going to bump you down the list if someone else gets in before you. Okay. So that actually is kind of cool. You get to pick your spot. You know exactly where you're going to go. Yeah. You don't have anyone else to blame but yourself, because if you waited to pay your money, that's on you, right?
Right.
Well, where it's sort of miserable is the way that they do this is through a Zoom call.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it should be as turnkey as possible. Like, just like, okay, go in, you got 20 people per session. So-and-so, you're up. Which spot? Psh, there you go. Next. This could be done in 20 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, you know how it is. Like, you're getting messages from Fan Expo about stuff that's going on and everything else. So, like, if there's something that comes up, parking or whatever, it's like they're giving you the info, right?
Mm-hmm.
They start off with, hey, this is just what we're doing today. We're just picking your spots. This is how we're doing it. They did some introductions. Totally fine. Then people start launching it with questions about things like parking and load in and everything else. And I'm like,
what did they say?
We're
just doing this today.
Did you think they were just going to wing it?
Oh, my goodness.
And then you get you know, I forget how many people are in the group, but
Yeah.
you get 20 to 30 people like us that spend all day drawing in a studio by themselves that are now thrust into a Zoom call. Or some have cameras, some are using their phones, some are using, you know,
Mhm.
they get people that aren't muting their mics or people that are making comments about everything. And it's like,
Mhm.
I
Yes. Yeah.
don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard until I pick my booth and I'm out.
Yes. So it's it's funny. I'm part of a class and they do the Zoom call thing, and very similar thing. Like you'll get a group where it's like people are really respectable and they kind of like instantly understand the rules. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a professional artist and we don't want to be rude.
Right.
And then you'll get that like one or two people who will just be like, just start randomly talking or saying things, and then to now we have to change the rules. Everybody has to be muted and raises their hand, and like, I mean, I guess it's kind of nice. It's like Zoom's got those features and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Still at the same time, it's
right. We're
that
adults. Come on.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I had to like remind myself that, there's a lot of people that might have been there first. Zoom call or Skype or whatever it is that we use.
Yeah, that's true.
But I feel like that should be something like if you're going to host a call, that should be a feature that you can put like the etiquette up.
Yeah.
Like
the
by
rules.
by clicking accept, you understand that you read this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't envy them.
Yeah.
At the same time, so Origins next year, that was a really good show for me this year. It's a little 4-day show down in Columbus.
Ooh.
It's not a bad gig. The tables, I think they're like $600 or $700 for an artist.
Oh, that's okay.
It's 4 days. Ended up doing really well for me.
What's the show called again? I'm sorry.
Origins Game Fair.
Origins, okay.
Down in Columbus. I can't do it next year because it's the same weekend as Charlotte Heroes Con, and I'm already booked for that. I already paid money. And I brought this up, and family was like, "Hey, we could cover it for you, possibly." I'm like, "It's a 4-day show."
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, I do like my sister lives in Columbus. She wasn't part of that conversation. She wasn't. So I feel like 4 days is a lot to ask because you figure you got to go down a day early to set up.
Yeah.
And then Sunday night, you know how loadout goes. Sometimes it's easy, other times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A nightmare. Yeah.
And I can't help out with any of, well, I could probably help with load in. Being a 4-day show.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte.
Where's Heroes Con again?
Down in Charlotte.
Okay.
Have you heard about that one?
I've heard of it. I've had a couple people mention that I should go to it. But I have not. I don't know. I think Charlotte might be a little far for me. Yeah. It might be like a 9-10 hour drive.
Yeah.
I think when I looked at it.
I think it sounds about right because it's about 7.5 for me, and it's a straight shot down 77.
Yeah.
If you do go, 2 things I'll recommend is on the way down. If you can, I don't know if they take Easy Pass, but if you can get into their express lanes, it's way faster for all the stop and go traffic.
Yeah.
And it's a lot safer because of the stop and go traffic.
Yeah.
But I think they've got a different, I don't think they do Easy Pass. They do something else.
I feel like we should all, like the entire United States should just be on Easy Pass at this point. Like, come on.
It would be nice.
It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Why does travel should not be complicated across the United States? Unfortunately,
I think it has to do with the private companies that own said turnpikes.
Yeah.
So it's like every now and then I get a letter in the mail like, you owe this for this turnpike. And I'm like, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Thought I had an Easy Pass for this.
Yeah. Or you get the one where it's like I don't remember getting the original message and they're charging you a late fee. And you're like, what the fudge?
Yeah, man. Yep. The second bit with Charlotte is that if you're going to do it, is that loading in and potentially loading out can be an absolute nightmare if you plan on using the dock.
Okay.
I could chalk it up to two things. One is in their email, if it's still the same as it was before, and I could be wrong on this, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here, is that the first bit is that I believe they say you have an hour to unload your vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Most people don't need an hour.
Yeah.
Most people need about 20 minutes. Go in, find out where your table is, drop off your stuff, get the heck out of the dock.
Yeah.
So now you got people that are going in and they're setting up and they're talking and everything else. And who's policing that hour? Hopefully somebody down in the dock, but heck if I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second bit is that they do have an attached parking garage. Most people don't realize they can just park at the NASCAR parking garage because they got the NASCAR museum there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you park there, and it is a couple elevators to get to where you need to go, but now you don't have to wait in line.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that waited, I think it was 3.5 hours.
Oh, God.
To get into the dock.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, Baltimore, this is the same thing. Like you had an hour to load and unload or whatever.
Yeah,
and,
Baltimore did that too.
Yeah, and it wasn't too bad either. I don't know if I just got in at the right time or whatever. I waited like, well, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes if that. I was like, right in.
Yeah, loading in there isn't the problem. It's getting out.
Yeah.
That's most shows though.
I just took my cart and walked down the road.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. The wait for the elevator, I think, was the worst part. Because in Baltimore, they got that one elevator. They got one elevator.
Yeah, that's
so it's like, yeah.
What I ended up doing there is they've got a parked in the garage. I don't know if it's the Hilton, whatever's like right. It might be the Sheraton. It's right next door, but it's kind of a pain to go up that road with your cart. But I literally just pushed my stuff up that hill to the parking garage and just called it good.
Yeah. Yeesh.
That was the fastest I ever made it out of there. I was out of there in about 45 minutes total from the time the show ended to getting it all out. Nice. I was sweating profusely.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, but Charlotte, though, if you can make it, that's a great networking show. Its results will vary, of course, greatly on your actual sales. The reason being is that because they don't do a ton of celebrities like the voiceover artists or movie celebrities, that sort of thing, they put all their money into getting comic book artists there. So inkers, colorists, even editors. It is an industry show. It would be good to go there just to walk around, meet some people, shake some hands, try to get some networking going. But if you have original art and you can put that up display like in a nice frame, there are people that throw money at original art at that show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. That was, I had, last year was my best year yet. I had two big, 18 by 24 originals that I had framed. Had them both on display, both sold first day.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, dude, that is the height of my show. And I know it sort of sounds sad, but the height of my show is when I sell an original piece of work, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling, honestly, versus selling like a print or because I mean prints are nice because we put effort into them, right? And we produce them. You know what I mean? We produce them because people can't afford or sometimes don't want to buy original art.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's nice if somebody comes in and buys an original piece of work and they're willing to spend, a little bit extra money on it and they appreciate it. That just means the world.
I had a what I will describe as a Christmas Miracle there one year.
No.
Yeah, this is the names will remain anonymous, but coming out of COVID, they did a mini con, Heroes Mini Con, I think they called it.
Oh, okay.
And they always do their show in June, but most Comic Cons coming out of COVID weren't sure what restrictions were going to look like, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they all pushed to the last half of the year. Well, they pushed theirs to November, and I think it was Omicron or Delta, whatever it was creeping back around, whatever variant of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to have all kinds of restrictions again and all this. Not to mention, it's my first time doing that show. I was in the back corner, facing literally the back corner. There was nothing across from me.
Nice.
Yeah,
that always sucks.
Yeah, so I'm all weekend. I'm like, at least I get to see my brother down here, stay with him, get to see my nieces and his wife Julie, and we were hanging out, having this good family time. But the whole time I'm like, I'll be lucky if I break even on this.
Yeah.
Thank God family's there, let me stay and feeding me and everything else.
Yeah.
This dude comes up to me on Saturday. It's him and his kid. And they're going through the originals and they're going through the prints, and they're loving it. They're having a good time looking at stuff, and they ask for some commissions. So I'll tell you what, it's towards the end of the show. I can either ship them or I can do them tonight and have it ready for tomorrow. So let's do that. Let's do that. Forget what they wanted. I feel like one was Ghost Rider. Can't remember what they were. They came in. Well, actually, it was just him. He came in first thing in the morning and came to my booth. And he's like, dude, these turned out great. Son's going to love this. My son won't stop talking about your artwork. How much would it be to buy all of your originals? I'm like, haha, like there's people, I'm sure you've heard it before too. Like, I love your stuff. How much for everything? How about $20? And it's like,
yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So
you're real funny.
We start going back and forth, and this dude pulls out an envelope stuffed with hundreds. And he's like, I'm serious. Like, how much? I'm like, but I think I have more artwork than you realize. I have 2 binders of originals back because people quit buying originals. Like, it shows money got tight. Everyone was loosey-goosey coming out of COVID. And then once the fall hit and stuff starts hitting again, people quit buying originals.
Yeah.
He told me that apparently what had happened, unfortunately, he had lost his wife earlier that year.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it was cancer. I don't know what it was. But he had told me that like the whole point of them coming out to the Comic Con was to like go have some fun for once, because they've just been dealing with it, right? And I get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that. Well, apparently that was like the most excited he had seen his son since everything had happened. And he's like, if this is what's making him happy, man, we're going to get him set up. So I'll tell you what, how about I just cut you a % off deal and you can just go a la carte, because I think I had 2 binders.
Yeah.
I think I had like 140 pieces of art.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think too, that I had that much art back then, but that's a freaking machine, man, just drawing.
Just knocking things out.
Dude, like just left and right.
Man, that's nice.
They ended up buying I think it was like 30 pieces of art off of me.
Wow.
And like just like that, my weekend was amazing. I had like surpassed my goals, like everything else. I'm like, that's amazing. And it was honestly, like the money comes and goes so quick, especially now where it's like you're reinvesting and everything else.
Yeah.
But like I still talk to that dude here and there to this day.
That's awesome.
And just getting to know them for who they are. It's like making that connection was worth more than the money I made off that deal. And
Yeah.
getting to be a part of their like positive trajectory through the storm.
Yeah, dude, that's cool. That's a cool story. That's a really cool story.
Yeah. So yeah, Heroes Con though, dude. If you can make it there, a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
cheapest city.
I'll
but-
look into it. Yeah, I'll look into it for sure.
What's up, TC?
What's going on?
It is kind of a podcast, isn't it?
Yeah. We do some visuals.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that to say, I've got 2 shows this weekend.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I've only done this one other time. I ended up getting double booked. And I'll be at Motor City up there in Detroit, Novi, because it's not actually Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then what's the other? Akron, where I live, Akron Comic Con.
Nice.
So family's going to be covering the Akron show. And I'll be up there in Motor City.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool. I gotta ask.
Yeah.
So, being with your family, you don't have to get into super specifics, but do you give them a percentage? Do you how do you work that?
Let's see if they're watching. Well, when it was coming up, the way that it came up, we were talking about like they like to ask where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And I had brought up I'm trying to get back into Motor City because I missed it in May. It was my sister's wedding. I'm not missing my sister's wedding, right?
Yeah, of course.
But because they do a May show and a November show,
yeah,
you have to, if you want to stay in your spot, you have to sign up for the next show every single time. You can't just do the May shows. You can't just do the November shows. You have to be on both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like Steel City is the same way too.
Yeah. Steel City is like super easy to fall out of, and then you got to fight like hell to get your spot back.
Yeah.
So I had applied to Akron Comic Con, thinking like I wasn't gonna have a chance of getting back into Motor City.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got the email. They're like, "Hey, we can have you," and I'm talking to the family. I'm like, we're having a cookout or whatever. I'm like, I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place because Akron's right down the road. I've been trying to get in there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Motor City's a great show, and it's twice a year.
Yeah.
And they had offered to cover it. And I told them at the time, I'm like, I don't think I can really afford to pay you. Like, I'm getting hit with so many expenses. This is like the toughest it's been since I've started as far as like managing the cash flow. Part of it's because it's growing so much. At the same time, it's like as quickly as it comes in, it's going out.
Quickly as it goes. Yep.
And they told me I don't have to pay them anything.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
they do not have to do that. I'm going to figure out a way to get them paid, though.
Yeah, God bless their hearts, man. God bless. That's amazing.
Typically, what I would do if someone's helping me or if someone's going to run a show for me is I give them a flat rate in case, the show doesn't do so well. They're at least getting paid to be there, right?
Yeah.
And then it's, if we get over a certain amount, then it's either a percent or it's here's another like bonus, whatever it's going to be.
That's awesome.
There's people I know, like one of my booth neighbors I've had recently. He's the guy running the booth for the actual artist. I think it's just a flat 25% that he gets, something like that. I've heard more. I've heard less with a guaranteed minimum. I've heard everything in between.
Yeah.
So, why are you thinking about franchising?
Yeah. So there's a couple of like shows that conflict with other shows throughout the year, next year, that we're kind of like, well, we either got to do this one or we got to do this one, and it's like usually it's a pretty clear choice. Like this one's a better show than this one, but it would be nice, But yeah, no, me and my wife. We've been thinking about like figuring out how we can get extra help for shows. Now that she's kind of spreading her wings more. Her booth is getting bigger and bigger for almost every show, really.
Yeah.
Because her capacity to create new things and print new things expands. So, and of course, it makes sense to get more tables, more stuff to put in front of people's faces, right? So, yeah, it was kind of something we've been kind of juggling around, is either figuring out how we could hire help or, ask somebody we know. The asking somebody we know is a little more difficult because, I mean, it's a tough place to be in, especially if you are at a show and you're by yourself, to run an entire booth and stuff, to ask somebody that has no idea what your business is about,
right.
and how about going about it is a tough sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, right, there's a lot of questions and answers that come with that. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, it is kind of rough because I know I've got a buddy that he has a call it a partnership where the other guy will run just as many shows per year as he does.
Yeah.
And so call it 25, 30 shows a year. This guy's out doing whatever. And if I remember correctly, he has a guaranteed minimum. Then also guaranteed minimum, his hotel's covered. And then he gets a % over a certain amount. So if they bring in, I'm just making up a number. If they bring in $5,000, then he gets a % over $5,000 as his bonus.
Oh, nice.
So there's lots of ways to do it. It is really tough when you're talking to somebody about taking an entire weekend to work pretty much a 40-hour work week in 2-3 days.
Yeah, right.
Between load in, load out, everything else. It can be a lot.
Yeah.
It can be a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to ask.
What's up, Pete? Superheroes are forever. Family will support you anywhere. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of those things I had heard today. I can't tell you where I heard it. I have random things that play on YouTube while I'm working about the indie scene. And seeing as you're making your own indie comics and that sort of thing, they had brought up why it is so hard to get good superhero stories in the indie world. It seems like in the indie scene, you can get a lot more experimental with your stories. You can have, your crime noir. You can have your horror stuff. Look at like, what's the zombie one? That got super huge.
Like Walking Dead, or
yes, thank you.
Okay.
Brain's not working today, man.
I'm like, yeah,
that's the one. It seems like in the indie scene, it's easier for those kind of experimental things to take hold and go much farther and make it mainstream. But like the superheroes in the indie scene, the guy made the comment. I wish I could remember what I was listening to. Again, brain is not working. But he had made the comment like, it seems like all of the superheroes are just knockoff Batman, knockoff Superman. It's like the dollar store Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so much harder in the indie scene for big superhero stories to stick? I don't know that's necessarily true, but do you have just off the top of your head?
That is a good question. And yeah, I could definitely see that, right? Like there's only so many ways you can go with a superhero character, almost, it seems like, unless you're asking the hard questions about the characters. But no, yeah, I mean, it's I think the problem arises is because Marvel and DC have such a long history of these characters that they have so many variants of these characters that could be characters of their own.
Yeah.
That, and it becomes very easy to draw parallels. Like, oh, this guy wrote this character that was very similar to when Spider-Man wasn't Spider-Man that one time, but I also feel like a lot of our modern day inspirations are coming from superhero stories that we read when we were kids.
Yeah.
So it is kind of, at this point now, it's culturally ingrained in us that those are the stories that we were raised on, we grew up on, we watched as kids. So it's easy to almost subconsciously fall back into those stories too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's TC said here, superheroes are hard to write and everyone wants to think they are a writer, but have no education, training, or experience, so everything is basically a ripoff.
Yeah.
I think inadvertently, yes, a ripoff. Yep. Because it's I think what happens for a lot of folks is they kind of what you're saying here, TC, is that they think it's easy enough to do, and in their mind are like, I could write a better Superman or I could write a better Batman. And that's what they end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't spend 10, 15 years owning their craft. They just write a story.
Yep. Well, and it's, I mean, if you think about it, if you look at a lot of early superheroes, especially when you're looking at DC, pulling from a lot of like the mythological archetypes, like your Medusas and your, you know, Hercules and all this, Zeus. That's sort of been from the get-go, that's been the example of the archetypes.
Yeah.
So we're kind of getting like, I don't want to say third generation superheroes now, but it's all kind of following those same trends.
Yeah.
I think there's one other thing. Yeah, or run it through AI. There's so many accusations going around about people who are using AI to like get their brainstorming like session for like the way their superheroes look, and then coming up with a story and possibly running that through Chat GPT. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there'll ever be a way to predict that. I mean, that one's an even tougher one to.
It's getting crazier, dude. It's getting even crazier. There's I was watching because I did my deep dive on AI stuff. I'm getting a lot of suggestions on YouTube. There's one now. It's free to try. It's free to download. Not saying that you should, but you can put any photo that you. So you can take a photo of us right here, and then put in an AI prompt of like Stephen James making funny faces, and it'll literally do a pretty darn good job.
Yeah.
It looks photoreal. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't trust anything anymore.
As you shouldn't.
Yeah. But I guess my thought on the whole the indie scene thing is unless you have a ton of financial backing or people that are willing to work for peanuts, I think the biggest difference is you don't have a lot of pages to get to know your characters like you used to.
Yeah.
You could have some superheroes that have super strength, they can fly, and maybe they shoot energy. Okay, that's pretty much Superman. But back in the day, I mean, you could have a daily like 3 comics or 3 panel strip in the comics, plus maybe a weekly comic, plus like a monthly comic to kick out all these stories so you get to know these guys and gals. Whereas now, like, Slaughter Dolls that I do, it takes an entire year to get the next issue out.
Yeah.
Part of that's because I'm doing other stuff. I'm putting other books out there. But I think that's the big thing is you don't get that. It's not like Netflix where you can just sit down and binge it unless it's already been around for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Is there a superhero archetype or story or idea that you've had that you'd like to see done that hasn't really been done yet?
Interesting question. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many stories now. It's tough. I mean, there's a lot of people who feel that they're not represented well enough in comics, and we can have a whole conversation about that.
Oh yeah.
But no, yeah, I don't know. I just enjoy reading stories, and whether or not even if it's a bad story, I still kind of like to read it and get an understanding of like where it is. And it's funny now that I'm kind of learning more about, and not to completely dodge your question, but it's funny now that I'm learning a little bit more about like writing processes and stuff, and the story archetypes and like the hero's journey and all that stuff. The more I learn about it, like there's a movie that I would say with a passion I never liked. But if you break it down and you follow these steps of the story archetype and like I actually watched a YouTube video, and these guys, they did it, and it was on it was Batman Dark Knight. Is it Dark? No, the one with Joker in it, Joker and Two-Face. I don't remember which that was. I don't remember the title of it, but it's that one of the Batman with the Dark Knight series. And they broke it down, and I'm like, I never liked this movie, but it actually follows this story architecture very well. So now I'm kind of like breaking it down, like why didn't I like it? And I think it had more to do with the characters and how they were portrayed versus the actual story. And now I'm realizing that the story was actually really sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
somewhere in the execution it just didn't hit you.
Yeah, it just didn't hit me. A lot of people love that Batman series with like a passion, and anybody in the comment you want to say that it was an amazing movie, feel free. I didn't like the Dark Knight series. It's not my favorite.
all good. That was not Dark Knight Rises. It was I don't know. I keep wanting to say Batman Returns, but that was the Tim Burton one. We got Matt in the back room. Matt, if you're ready to go, hit me with a thumbs up. I'll bring you in.
Matt.
He might still be getting his camera set up here. But in the chat, too, if there's any...
Batman Begins for the win.
There you go. In the chat, too, if there's any of the like superhero stories or characters that you'd like to see revisited or revamped, feel free to hit us up. There was an idea I had for a story, and I'm just going to say it here because I'm never going to get around to doing it. And Matt, can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come in. You're in the back room right now. Thumbs up. We're bringing Matt in. There he is. What's up, Matt?
What's up?
Matt, what's going on?
Matt, have you met James?
I have now.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
It's good to meet you.
You as well.
Welcome to the show, man. We're talking in the indie scene. There was I still cannot for the life of me remember what podcast I was listening to today, but they were talking about in the indie scene, it seems like it's difficult for superhero stories to stick the landing and be as impactful as some of the other bigger ones in the franchises. They seem to just be flash in the pan, if anything. Whereas you get like Walking Dead and, a lot of these other stories that are just take off. And you got any thoughts on like what's going on in the indie scene with that? Like what we're missing the mark on from like a superhero perspective?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I had this conversation recently. And one of the things we came down to, and I like that you used The Walking Dead because that's sort of where we landed as well. Yeah. A lot of the superhero stuff as movies, big spectacle. Ooh, wow. A lot of fun. I'm a sucker for that stuff. This is my job. But at the same time, it doesn't always stick the landing unless it's a big movie with 20 sequels that are coming.
Right.
On the flip side to that, on the more kind of indie scale, something like The Walking Dead or a comic property as a TV show works a little bit better because you've got more time and the right medium to flesh out the characters. I think if it doesn't stick the landing, it's because we as people haven't identified with anyone landing. And in the big movies, we don't need to identify with all the characters. We just need to identify with the thing that's happening. We got to get through Act 2. But in a TV show, boy, do we latch on to those characters. We got our favorite. Rick Grimes, yay.
Yeah.
How many people on the interwebs decided if Daryl dies, we riot. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, people were attached to those characters, so it almost didn't matter what the landing was. As long as the character landed, we landed with them.
Yeah. I think what you're saying there is kind of what I was alluding to with the bigger dogs, bigger production companies, is that
sorry, this lamp is like in my face.
No, you're fine, man. Is that I think with the bigger companies that can afford to put out more issues, whether it's weekly or monthly, you get to know these characters a lot more. You got more story coming in. Whereas in the indie scene, it could be a year or more before you get issue number 2. So you don't have that much time to get to know these characters, to learn more about them. And I was thinking about that today, like, you know, unless I find some people that are willing to work for peanuts, or
we're out here.
Which is true. At the same time, it's like if you're effectively working for free until a book sells, that project's going to take a back seat to any other thing that's paying you money. That's just kind of how that works.
Yeah.
Which is why Patchwork Volume 2 has taken me as long as it's taken me. I got to pay the bills. So
exactly. So I started asking myself the question today while I was working on some other stuff, is in the indie scene, what can we do in between releases to keep people on the hook, to get them to learn more about the characters? Is it something as easy as writing a couple blogs, maybe a blog a month about the characters, maybe doing like some behind the scenes stuff, or like these web comics guys that will do like a 3-panel, like once a week or once a month? Is there something there that helps fill that gap, or is it just, it is what it is?
I don't know if there is, but I know what I'd like to see. And I'm sure if I say it now with listeners listening, and somebody will get to it before I do, but damn it, it's my idea. So I'm going to do it when the time comes.
There you go.
You know, my master plan for Patchwork, that's what I want. And a big part of that is what other creators want to bring to the table if you feel like it. You know, you own your own stuff. But I remember being a kid, one of the things I loved, reading old comics. Well, they're just comics to me. I'm old. Marvel I think it was Marvel Fanfare. And one of my favorite things about it was like the last half of each issue of Marvel Fanfare was just a 1-page bio of a character. And then like a half a column of here's the big events in this character's life. If they weren't using that character, it was a way for them to say, okay, don't forget we have this dude also.
Right.
And if they were using that character, it's, oh, by the way, you can read more about this story in this title. And I would love for Patchwork to get to a point where we can have like a Marvel Fanfare style thing, maybe quarterly, saying, here are the creators that are working with us. Here are the characters that they've come up with. If you read the story that they put out over here, here's what you might have missed. And if you're interested in seeing what happens next, you can find it here. I loved Marvel Fanfare for how they used their own material to advertise their own other material.
It's a smart idea.
I would love to see indie comics do that. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's I know if any of you have heard of the Rippaverse, I know that's what Eric July's been doing with Rip-a-Mag, something like that. He's doing sort of that throwback to the Marvel Fanfare, where it's sort of filling in the gaps, has some preview stuff. They put some like teaser, like 8-page previews of books that they're working on, or just potential books. And if they get a positive reaction, then they will keep it going. But
like I said, I mean, a good idea is a good idea. And in comics, good luck coming up with a thing that hasn't already been done.
Right.
You know, a lot of one of the things I just finished up tonight was doing a cover recreation between projects to cleanse my palette. I like to do a fun cover recreation, and it's a good way to sell. It's a good way to get artwork out there and do something that is 100% fan appreciation as a fan of the cover, but for a fan that wants original art at a very cheap price, because this is not a published thing. But I liken that to, you know, you're not going to do something brand new for the first time. Almost a lot of what we do is like your favorite song gets a cover. Somebody covered your favorite song.
That's pretty cool.
You know, did they bring something new to the table and respect the original, or did they shit all over it? You know, so it becomes this fun thing of like, find a way to cover your favorite song, but do it in a respectful way that allows you to put a really sick twist on it.
Yeah.
What were some of the suggestions you ended up getting for it, or did you actually start working on it?
Oh, it's done.
It's done.
Yeah, I just finished it. The ink is drying. I just finished it about 10-15 minutes ago.
Oh, nice.
The one that was in the thread that I took arrogantly and unabashedly was Thor number 126.
Nice.
It's a Jack Kirby Thor facing off against a Jack Kirby Hercules.
Nice.
And Kirby is one of those guys where if I'm going to cover something, it's really intimidating because you need to know right out of the gate, you're not that good. So no matter how dynamic your stuff is, it's not Jack.
No.
You just know that. So that's where the respect comes in. And the only way I know how to do that is to do it the way I do it as best I can and try not to lose what he brought in his poses.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Kirby really had he really set the sandbox up for all of us to play in as far as
kind of invented dynamics like pigeons.
Oh yeah, especially like the machinery and like the far out cosmic ideas and everything else.
Yeah.
Like that dude really way ahead of his time, man.
Yeah. Well, we're still copying him. I mean, it's just it's a between projects ritual of mine. And before I can start a new project, I have to do a cover recreation just to get my mind right, just to take it back into fan mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm still copying Kirby.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of sucks though, because once I get it to a place where I'm happy with it and it's done 2 days from now, but you know, somebody will claim it, somebody will want it, and before I ship it out, I'm going to look at it and be like, God, this sucks. I could have done better.
Yeah, it's usually how that goes. It's
happens
like
every time.
I mean, really, I've got a buddy that has the opposite view on his artwork. For me, I'm like, I don't want it. I know it's good enough to sell. Here you go. Could I have done better? Probably. Every time this goes through my head, I'm like, I could have done this better, could have done that better. I think they're gonna like it where it's at. It's okay. And almost every time they love it. It's great. It's fantastic. But I don't want my art hanging up in my house because I will nitpick every little thing. And I've got a buddy. This is the opposite.
That's a nightmare.
He loves his artwork. He can't get enough of his own artwork, and he has it apparently all over the inside of his house. So I think it's buck wild.
I kind of wish I had that problem. Yeah. Jeez.
That feels like a Twilight Zone episode to me.
Yeah.
If I woke up in the morning and the first thing I see from the third floor all the way to the first floor is my own stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That was like the only tattoo that I've got. I've wanted a skull with a crown since I was in high school. I remember drawing it back in high school, but I never liked the way it looked for the reasons that we just discussed. And I have people all the time like, man, you should just draw your own, do your own thing. And I'm like, no, because especially if it's going on my arm where I can see it, I will end up getting it lasered off. But yeah, buddy out of Cleveland did it. He did a good job.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But James, for you, man, like, what about you? Like, at what point did you get that courage to kick off the training wheels and be like, you know what, we're just gonna put it out there and it's for sale, and like, this is where I'm at with my journey, and we're selling stuff. Let's see how it goes.
Ooh. That's a good question. Yeah, man. When I first started, I mean, I was, I went to a couple conventions first because I'm like, I don't know what the vibe is here. I don't know like what to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was a point in my life where I realized that I was not as happy as I could have been because I wasn't creating stuff. And even though I wasn't that amazing at the time, I'm still, learning, obviously. I just was like, I think the only way to get myself to stay into it is, see if other people appreciate what I'm doing. And if other people are appreciative of what I'm doing, then that's great. But at the end of the day, I'm still creating something. So I'll put it out there. And I had this, like, Facebook was still kind of cool at the time. It was, sort of dying where it's at now. But Facebook groups were like this huge thing. And I was in a couple of groups that, were comic related, and, they liked looking at art, and I was engaged with all those guys and all the people that are doing much better than I'm doing now because they were already doing it. I'm like, I'm just watching these guys' journeys, and I'm like, that would be amazing. That would be amazing to be on that journey. So I just started putting it out there, and the response was ridiculously positive originally. I'm not saying it's not now, but it was so positive. And I think a lot of that also has to do with where we were economically as well. And I think it was also a funny time, but because it was like I started pre-pandemic, and then pandemic kind of hit, and then it was kind of a weird area. So yeah, no, I was just like, the response was so positive in some of the groups that I was in that I was like, I got to keep doing this. And people were actually asking to buy my work. And
that's
I'm
huge.
like, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, yeah, $20. It's yours. What I mean?
It's strange. It's strange at first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was like, I'm like, I don't even know how to price this. It's so funny to think back now. I'm selling original art for $20, but that's what I was selling that, and I was doing sketch cards and stuff, and people were really, really loving the sketch cards. And that's kind of where I kicked it off, was that. And I was like, I'm going to try to do this professionally. And I put it out there, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do 10 spots of sketch cards for free. And people were like, that's awesome. And I sent them my work, and they really liked it. And it's awful. If I look back at it now, I'm like, God, that was so bad. But I appreciate everybody who got a piece from me and was cool about it. And everybody who has since stuck around since. But yeah, that's kind of where I went in. And then the convention circuit kind of kicked in, and of course then COVID hit, and then there was no conventions. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'll just work on my artwork in the meantime and promote the heck out of it if I can. And I did that for, until conventions came back, and then there I was. I started again. But yeah, no, that's kind of how I hit it in. It was really just, there was such, when I was younger, it was such, and I don't want to rant too far here, but when I was younger, there was such a weird negative stigma around making money potentially ever with art. It was it wasn't going to happen thing. And
I remember those days too.
Yeah, it was like I wanted to go to college for art and do game art and stuff, and there's a whole story there. And ended up not, because of just how devastated I was that wasn't ever going to actually be a possibility, was be an artist. And so I stopped drawing for the longest time. And don't get me wrong, I met my wife and stuff, who's now my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, and all that stuff. And we did that. And then it just kind of came to a point where it's why did I stop doing this? What drove me to that? Okay, financially, so what? I'm in a career now. So, I was kind of happy, and I'm like, okay, I have a career. I have a little bit extra time. I can pick up a hobby again, finally. And then so I was like, yeah, I just gotta draw, man. It's like there's this call to the paper. This call to the paper. So that's where I came back.
Yeah. That call is real. The way you flip that into an epic origin story and win tons of brownie points is, I only stopped drawing long enough to meet my wife.
Yes.
And once I had that locked down, back to work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. I don't. Who knows, man? If I was buried in the paper, I probably never would have honestly met her. But
yeah. That's one thing. I'm sure you guys get this at shows or even just online. People make the comment, oh, I wish I could draw, and you're like, do you?
Yeah.
Do you wish you could draw?
Right.
See, I go the opposite direction. I'm like almost kind of a jerk about it. I'm like, well, why don't you?
Yeah.
What's stopping you?
Yeah.
You don't have a pencil? Here.
Yeah.
You take one of mine.
Yeah.
Roadblock removed.
Yeah. Enough with the excuses. Get to work.
Yeah.
Now it's going to take you a long time. Handle it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to be more motivational at shows, but in the back of my mind, I'm like,
good guy, Steve.
Do you really wanna?
Yeah, do you? If you really wanted to, you would have. I think
Yeah, it's not typically a social activity. It's usually you in your room or an office or something, and sitting there for hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drawing.
Yep.
And then you spend hours drawing and you get done and it's like, what do I have to show for this? A piece of trash that no one would buy nor want for free. Start over.
Yeah.
Do that for years. And then,
yeah, then people will be interested.
Yeah. Did you guys see PewDiePie's update? I don't know if you knew this, but he started a 30-day drawing challenge.
Yeah.
I got gray hair and my wife shows me how to turn this thing on. So no, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. So he did a 30-day drawing challenge where he showed his very first image and he went through his sketchbook showing the progress and then where he was at 30 days and just showing how much he learned. Then I think he did a 100-day challenge where he just kept it going. And he just posted within about a week his 1-year challenge.
Okay.
And how long he'd come and all that good stuff. And it's one of those things where he wasn't spending hours a day. He was spending minimum half an hour every day.
Okay.
He's like, I wanted to get into rock climbing. I did it. That was more of a time commitment than drawing. So of course he could figure out a way to do half an hour.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you're doing with that 30 minutes more than, what you're doing in that 30 minutes.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on in the back room, but Danielle, if you want to jump in, give me a thumbs up and then we'll bring you in. There she is. Perfect. Welcome, Danielle, to the stage. What's up, Danielle?
Hey.
I think you might be muted.
Uh-oh. No audio.
Definitely muted.
Yeah,
Still
you're muted.
Still.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah. This is what it used to be like when I was in the corporate world and we had to do Zoom calls every day. It's like, oh, there's always a technical issue somewhere.
You know what? That's what COVID did for society. Was it brought us into this technology?
I'll tell you what. That was the company I was with. They refused to do the work from home thing unless you had a corporate position, and they refused to do remote meetings. They had to be in person. But then COVID hit, and guess what? All of their antiquated ways went bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah. Good job, COVID. That'll teach them.
That'll teach them.
Hell yeah, COVID.
I don't know that we can hear you, Danielle.
Nope.
Nothing. Yeah. I don't know how to help you either.
Hold on. My wife knows what to do. Call her in there. She'll help you. She knows what to do. She's really good at this.
Yeah. We had a suggestion from the audience that maybe try putting headphones in. And, oh wait, she's
trying to figure it out probably.
Okay, maybe. Hello. Goodbye.
Well,
hello.
Okay, sorry.
Hey,
nice.
there she is.
Now we're talking. All right.
She's live,
There's my
everybody.
voice.
There you
She's
are.
live.
Yes.
Okay, yay! Okay, I think it's because I opened the app twice on a URL and then second time on the actual app itself. So
Oh,
Sorry about
I don't
that.
know anything about that. Did you get your internet fixed, or is this all?
Yes, my internet is fixed.
Yeah.
But I am not at my house. I'm actually at my parents' house right next door because they invited me for some grub. I checked you. I saw a message from James I got maybe an hour ago, and I said, "Oh, what's up?" And he said, "Are you coming to the show?" I was like,
It's all good. It's loose rules here, friends. It's evening. You guys can pop in, pop out whenever you want. I'm not. Don't wait for me to dismiss anybody. If you gotta go, you gotta go. And if you can't start till later, you can't start till later.
"That's fine." You, sir, are you Mr. Slay or?
I am, unless you're pointing at one of the other tiny screens, and then
No,
they're not.
I was talking to you. Okay, I just had to make sure. I really liked your podcast with Steven earlier. So,
Oh, thank you.
and also very honored that you called that for the shout out. By the way, so.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. I had a lot of fun. It's odd. The conversations that I latch onto are usually the worst parts of my origin story, because the worst parts of any story, like the most painful stuff, is always the best stuff.
It normally is. And I feel kind of bad that I came in during James's origin story because it's really entertaining to listen to.
I have more stories, which I will tell throughout the history of Steve's podcast, I'm sure.
There we go.
Well, sometime we'll do a proper interview. There's been a very loose format as to how I do this, and I'm not sure what works best, what's the most entertaining, but I like doing some interview segments. I like doing discussion segments. But
hey, as long as
do it all, man. Do it all.
Absolutely.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, we were talking. What were we talking about?
Ooh. What was the original point?
Well, we were talking.
You had asked me what had gotten me into art.
It was sort of that turning point where it was like, okay, because I was in a similar boat. Like it was back in 2015 on a whim. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do a Comic Con because I have time. I have PTO. I have nothing to lose. It seems like fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always wanted to try selling my art. And that once you get that first sale and it's an original piece, you're like, I think I got something here.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes that obsession.
The obsession bit is real, because you start to overthink on the ride home. What was it about that piece? And can I put lightning in a bottle again? Several hundred times,
right?
And at a zero.
And then you find out, like, not everyone has the same taste as that one person.
Right.
It's funny you say that, because my first show I did was Flower City Comic Con, and Steve, I think that was the show that you were at.
Okay.
My first show that I did, I had brought my, mini portfolio. I didn't have a ton of pieces because most of my stuff I had either sold or thrown out. So I brought my mini portfolio. I got 9x12 and I have 8.5x11 size. And I had not put out my 8.5x11 size. I had a guy who came through and he's like, oh, is this all the work you got? Do you have anything else? And I'm like, you know what? I do have this other folder. You want to take a look? I just didn't put it out there. It's not my best work. I put it out there, and the guy was like, he was flipping through, and he caught this one piece, caught his eye, and I will never forget it to this day, because it is my least favorite piece. I don't remember why I did it, but it was my least favorite piece I had done. It was just way too colorful and contrasty. And it was my least favorite piece I probably honestly ever done. And he's like, I love this piece. How much? And I'm like, oh, of course, me, being confused at the moment, really? I'm like, I don't know, $20, $30. We'll do $30. I'm like, he's like, sold. I'm like, sweet, man. Yeah, have attitude. And, put it in the top loader and gave it to him. He gave me $30. And that sticks with me to that day, because it's so funny, because you never know what someone's going to really like, what's going to really catch their eye. It could be your best work, or it could be something that you would be like, that's, garbage to me. But I mean, it really is. It kind of does in most situations. It's the eye of the beholder.
No.
Yeah. Actually, if you remember telling you about, it wasn't a weekend for me in Baltimore, like, but I did have some very unusual sales when I did get people to come. So it was the first time I was showcasing my scrapbook canvases, and I drew like a subpar Beetlejuice on one of them. And also when I first started them, I first colored this really ugly, and I mean butt ugly, Eevee. So and these were literally, they were my worst pieces. And I was like, well, I don't have any other canvas pieces. I have to put them out. So one artist from another table saw my Beetlejuice piece. He was about to buy my print of Beetlejuice and Lydia, but then he saw the one that I drew on the canvas, and he's like, that one's actually even better. And I'm in the back of my mind, it's like, do you need your eyes checked?
But it feels good though.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the weirder purchase of the two of them was the Eevee one. So that one.
Are we
was
talking
actually,
Eevee the Pokemon?
Yeah, Eevee the Pokemon.
All right, I'm with you.
All right.
Catch them all, man.
A young woman who was actually the girlfriend of one of Frank Frazetta's grandsons. She hopped over to my table. She saw the Eevee, and she couldn't live without it. She had to have it. And I'm just like, okay, so y'all know that I'm nuts about my 1920s shtick. I have all my 1920s flapper girls, like with my metallic watercolor. I can tell you, like, these are like 10 million times better looking than the crappy Eevee and Beetlejuice. And she needed to have that piece. And I was just like, I am not gonna complain. Take my crappy drawing because it's an eyesore for me.
And there it goes.
Yeah.
One of the lessons you're never afraid to learn very quickly, like for any young artists out there that are just kind of like wondering, should I go do this? Yes, you should. One of the things you need to learn soon, like early on, is people like what they like. So don't be afraid to draw whatever the hell.
Mhm.
Draw it all. Draw everything. Because people like what they like.
Yep. Yeah, and you learn that pretty quick too. If you copy art, because they might like the original version and not like yours, even though you copied it. But they might like that style better too. So there's a lot to go with that, you know. But yeah, people like what they like.
That's for sure.
There was a I forget what the game was. I think the publisher was called White Wolf, and I think they did Vampire the Masquerade back
Yes,
in the
they
day.
did. That was all Tim Bradstreet. That was all him, man.
That was I remember.
I got that book downstairs.
There was, it may not be exactly that one, but there was a series of like D&D style game books that were like that. I think that's what it was. But I was drawing pieces to submit. I was early 20s, that I thought would fit their style, what they were asking for. I didn't even get a call back, whatever. So flash forward to 2015. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing my first show. I'm putting together this book of like stuff that I think I could actually sell. I'm like, it's this picture of this dude holding another dude at gunpoint, like trying to get information out of him. And in the foreground, there's a vampire down on the ground biting somebody's neck. Pretty cool little dynamic shot, right?
Yeah.
Well, this couple comes over and they're leafing through and they're looking through my stuff, and they stop on this page and like, we'll take this one. I didn't even think it would sell. You know, this is like my demo piece that I put together for like portfolio piece for this. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. You know, I'm getting it all ready for them. And they hold it up and they're like, it's going to be a gift for somebody. Like, they love zombies. And they turn and walk away. I'm like, it was a vampire. It was a vampire. Like, okay. If they think it's a zombie, okay.
Yeah.
People like what they like. And when they like what they like so much, they really only see what they see.
Exactly.
That is true. That's very true.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had a couple of like that, but yeah. So that was I wanted to bring up to circle back to the with PewDiePie. We're talking about PewDiePie. I don't know if you saw that, Danielle. His 1 year challenge of drawing every day.
I mean, I've never seen that specifically. I didn't
Yeah.
know he did a drawing challenge. I didn't even know the guy could draw.
I'll see if I could pull it up and share it without getting like a copyright strike or anything. But I wanted to ask you
Don't
guys.
worry, we won't tell anyone.
it's just the internet.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you guys if there was something in, doesn't necessarily have to be the art world, but wanted to put an art focus on it, that if you were to task yourself with doing on a 30-day, 100-day, 1 year challenge that you had to share with the world, share with the internet, what would that thing be?
Do I have to actually do it? Because I'm busy.
I'm real busy.
I know.
You don't have to.
I don't have any
I
more
can-
time.
I could,
It's pretty
well,
packed.
already what comes to mind is animation. It would be animating like one of my more important scenes from my project, Abigail. And I have a very specific look for it, so I would try to get that scene down.
That's have you looked at any animation programs? Are you using anything, trying anything out?
Right now, I'm using CSP's animation program. I just downloaded Krita because I heard how good it is for animation. And I also downloaded one other thing. It's Studio Ghibli used this program to create their various movies, and it's downloadable for free. I am still trying to learn how to use that. It is very confusing though, because it's a lot of bells and buttons that I have to remember.
Yeah, I downloaded was it Procreate Dreams, I think is what it is. Because Procreate has their normal drawing platform that they have, and then they released one. I think it's either Studio or Dreams. I can't remember. I kind of did a little stick figure animation, and I was like, by golly, that's a lot of work. And
It is.
I don't know how I sell this. I
still need to understand, how do you sell something like that? Unless you have to sell it like a movie, they have to have tickets or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, some kind of proof of concept.
There's a market for it. If you think about it, like streamers, they're always trying to do like fun animations, things like that, but yeah, that's tough. That's tough. You have to be really good, I would imagine.
It takes a lot of work. The challenges with some of them is that like I should just look at them. I got my iPad. I think it's Procreate Dreams.
I think you're right. I think I know what you're talking about. I think you're right.
It's really difficult to, like, if you're just going to do like the puppet rig where you draw like different parts of a character and you stick them to a rig that you can move around. That's one thing. You could do that in your regular drawing program and port it in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do frame by frames, like do each individual cell, it doesn't let you color it conveniently in the program. It's kind of a pain. But I'll buy you guys, Matt, and
this is so complicated. I just got a new jar of ink. Like, I'm pretty proud of that.
it's a lot easier, right?
I mean, the other idea is to do like what the olden Disney animators did by, do the flip book technique.
Oh, the in-betweens. Yeah, in-between animation.
I actually did have someone teach me for a little while how to do the flip book technique. And I even had to do that for one of my projects at my art school years ago. So I at least have that experience.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in love with it, but I did it.
I had a buddy back in high school that could not draw to save his life, but he was very good at the flip book animation with stick figures. I mean, mind-blowing stuff. It would be like he would use his textbooks too. He'd put it like in his math book. He had a little stick figure running, then a UFO chasing him around. I'm like, dude, you've got something here. But
flash forward to 2020 now, and we're using Flash animation for the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still doing that.
Not to mention that there are literal small companies that were creating stick figure animations. They are a booming business, apparently.
There's a lot of money in stick figures.
Yeah, and
we're trying way too hard. Trying way too hard.
There's a sentiment that I saw from an animator. So she obviously went to animation, went to school for animation because she was very good. She did one of this like snarky bunny woman. And whenever she would put her in animations, like say she's exercising or she's having some tea, it looks like a sweet little setting, but out of her mouth she's screaming like. So I don't understand how millions of dollars were spent on creating the simple techniques that are the minions, because I didn't spend all that time eating ramen, staying up till 3 a.m, doing projects just to have yellow butt plugs as a popular character.
That's funny.
That's not the first thing I think of when I see a minion. I think more like Tic Tacs, but okay.
I mean, they're the same if you're creative enough.
Unfortunately, I can't stop seeing them as yellow butt plugs anymore.
That has changed.
And now we've learned something about Danielle.
We're always learning something new on this podcast. I love it. I love it. I'll never see a minion the same way. It's just kind of like some
now it's PG-13. It went up.
Actually, someone messaged me thanking me that we keep this as a relatively clean podcast because they listen to it at work live. And
ew, no, don't do that. Where do they work? We're going to make this real interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, relatively clean. You didn't give us a baseline, so
I try not to swear on here. I've let several slide over several episodes, but
my bad.
I personally don't really care. I have no plans on this being monetized anytime soon. I'm looking, if anything,
that's the spirit.
Well, to be frank, it's like the amount that you have to have live streaming to like get ad dollars. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
The monetization comes from us on here plugging what we've got going on, which we'll like, if any of you do have to split at any point, please plug whatever it is that you're working on or selling before you roll out. But the people that are listening because they like us and they know what we talk like and what we sound like. So I'm not that concerned about it. Nah. Well, at least that's what I tell myself. But
see, now I'm like anxiously looking around to see if I have a copy of the book lying around anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Like James, if you want to grab your art book too before you roll out. So this is while we're getting that stuff taken care of, this is PewDiePie's yes
1
year challenge. So this is that's day 2. Let's see if we got day 1 here. I'm playing it without audio, but this dude is mega streamer. He's all about like the memes and reviewing memes. This is day 1. It's very I love it. Well, I'm only laughing because I know where he gets to, and like
honestly, as long as you have a day 1, that's the most important thing. How many people do we meet at convention say, "Oh, I can't even draw a stick figure"? Well, have you drawn one today?
Yeah.
Exactly. Did you have a day 1? Are you going to give yourself a day 1?
Actually, that's a better answer than what I give them. I just said they make movies out of stick figures at this point. You can make money off of that.
Yeah.
Animatronic.
Yes.
If you guys get time, like he's got 3 videos in this now. Like I said, it's a 30-day challenge, 100-day challenge, and 365 days. And I recently watched this one, and I think he's Swedish, maybe. I'm just picturing his accent because every page he turns to, he's just like, "Oh, look at this crap." And, that's Scottish, but you get the idea. But as he progresses, he starts learning a little bit of Loomis. And
Okay.
Nice.
We'll just let it play here. I've got it muted, so it's I think audio is what gives you the issue with stuff getting struck down.
I see the anime influence right out of the gate.
Well,
Yeah.
he made it very clear early on that that's the day 100 is he's doing Loomis.
Loomis is a good one. I mean, Loomis, Bridgman, and Hogarth are kind of like my three amigos. If you can pull from all three of them, then you're in good hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's already got it out of the park.
Yes, this is day 100 here.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the cute anime girl with the gun getting ready to just blast somebody.
Aren't they all?
I know what little girl isn't ready with a gun and a sword behind her back at this point.
You got it.
Oh, see, you were worried about ads. You got his ads. This is working out just fine.
It's monetizing. Even
Of course it would show a gym ad. I need to go back. Oh, hey, are you serious? Is that him now?
This is not long after day 100. He decided to start playing around with some different media. He'd just been doing pencil and pen up to this. And this is, in his mind, this is like one of the best things he's ever drawn. Like he comes back to this later. He kind of benchmarks I think, get your guys' opinion on this. He kind of sets this as like, this is like the pinnacle of what I've done, and everything he's comparing himself to, he compares to this.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's actually fair enough. And it's actually very good.
I've done that.
Yeah. Well, if Felix is watching this and listening, good to have a benchmark of what you believe is the best thing you've done, because no one knows your body of work better than you. However, if you're continuing past this and still coming back to this, then you're not allowing yourself to make new mistakes to do better than this.
Yeah.
So awesome to have a benchmark, but fall off the bench from time to time and build it stronger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can actually, why don't we ask, like, which of us has a benchmark piece then?
Oh God.
I do. Yeah, I do. I
What do you
definitely do. My Spawn piece is still kind of right there. Spawn and Punisher, probably, but they're newer pieces. They're not super old pieces, so they're like kind of my benchmark right now. They're like the pinnacle of what I can do. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to move past that, kind of like you said, Matt. Try to use that and see, like, this is where you're at, and then use, But I also like to look forward to my influences too, and be like, this is where I'm at, and this now, how can I get from here to here,
right,
to really push that? And so that's kind of my Spawn piece though. I mean, that's probably the first piece that I've done that I'm like, I still really like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you know you hit with it. It's easy for us, and I think this is just part of being an artist, or at least a working artist. Nothing that we do is ever going to be good enough, and that's part of the motivation to get better, to keep doing better, keep wanting to do better for better work.
Yeah.
The complacency is going to kill you.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad that you don't like your stuff. Be happy that you don't like your stuff, because I think as soon as you wake up and you're just satisfied with everything, your soul gave up.
Yeah. That's what I say all the time. If I'm not making progress or learning something new in some way, even if it's this small, I wasn't motivated enough to get to that next level. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Oof.
I don't know that. I don't know. I feel like, because I'm always pushing myself to try different materials and different mediums and different poses, angles, all that stuff. I always feel like I've recently done something that's the best thing I've ever done, but there's also something that needed to be fixed or done better or done differently.
Right.
So it's like, to me, it's just, we are shooting off into a direction, and we're going to continue to just keep building on it. I don't know. I don't really compare myself to one particular piece, I guess.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong
I
with
don't
that either. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
You got
Yeah.
one, Daniel?
Yeah, I do. It's a piece that I created for Abigail. It was the first time I drew my femme fatale, and of course a big fat shout out to my unofficial art director Slim. She helped me like arrange it the way it needed to be. But it definitely hit in a way that you knew this woman was up to something, but she would entice you all the same. Like I was able to get the emotion, I was able to get the grayscale. Everyone was immediately allured by her anytime they saw this piece. And it's just like, I hit it. I hit it with this piece. So yeah, that you can find on like my coffee. So
Nice. Very cool. Every time it takes me a second to realize that coffee isn't like a drink.
no.
I have it implanted in my mind that it's Ko-Fi because I never knew
too.
what it was.
Yeah.
Me too. It's
I called
been
it
Ko-Fi.
Yeah, I called it Ko-Fi for the longest time, and then someone's like, "You mean coffee?" I'm like, "No, it's Ko-Fi."
Because I think you can literally buy a coffee for people too, right? That's a thing.
Yeah. That was their whole thing that they built that platform was buy me a coffee.
I would think all of us. I'm assuming the lot of you are also coffee drinkers. I would think by looking at that name, you would get the joke. There it is. Yeah, I left my coffee downstairs, but all the same.
There you go. Matt, did you have a piece that you kind of have that you
there are, I don't know if it's individual pieces so much as individual projects. Like there might be a cover for a comic that kicked me off in a direction, or a cover for a book, or an album. But I think for me it's projects where it's like, okay, this thing worked and I did the work to make it work. And it was not only, I don't know how to use the word successful because we're all going to define that differently in art. But it was lucrative and it was meaningful. And it also, that, like for me right now, it's patchwork. Number one, sold and sold and sold. And it is still selling. And I love that it's grassroots. People say, "Oh, how many issues per order?" And I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's like people want one, maybe 2 copies, or a store wants 10 or 20. I'm not shipping these things 1,000 at a time. That's not, no, this is me doing this, you know? But what I'm learning from that experience is what I need to do to make the second one better. Now, something might come out that I do before volume 2 is finished. But I don't know if I have a benchmark piece or if I have like a benchmark project where the experience of the project and the final product was like, wow, I've learned so much from this. Now I know how to do better.
Right.
I think I have those, but like one individual piece, dude, I have no idea.
Yes,
I
it's
have
hard
no
to
idea.
track down.
I mean, because it's 22 years worth of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think early on, I had a couple that, like, you know, when people would look through the portfolio, they'd all stop and be like, "Whoa, you know, check that out." So I know that early on, I had a couple that I'm like, I have to do at least as good as I did on that one.
Yeah.
But as time went on, it's like, I don't know what my limits are. So I just, whenever I get done with something, I guess I compare it to itself. Really, it's just, what about this could I have done better?
Oh yeah.
And also, there's that grace that I have for myself in the back that's like, but it's good enough to sell. Like, I'm sure I could make a masterpiece out of this one thing that I did, but it also sold, so it's okay. Dude, keep doing better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're always like coveting or reaching for that masterpiece.
Yeah.
But I think we get more out of the disaster piece. Like,
Yeah.
I think those carry all the right kind of meaning.
Yeah. I think so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This is
I
did you find
do
it?
agree. What? Find
Oh,
what?
I don't know. You disappeared for a moment, so I thought you might be looking for something.
Oh no, I needed to run downstairs because well, my phone was at the brink, so
Oh,
I
no.
was needed to look for a charger. I found
There
one.
you go. All good. All good. So what you guys were saying earlier about like the big thing is to not stagnate or whatever, and make mistakes elsewhere. PewDiePie realizes call it the centennial of the days over the day 100. I don't know how to phrase that. He realized that he had not drawn dudes at all. It was all anime girls. So he's like, I should probably figure out how to draw dudes. So he started drawing some dudes. I like this guy right here. It's like very conniving.
That's funny.
Oh man. Yeah,
But-
so much anime influence in the guys.
Oh yeah. One of the things that he had brought up was doing. I can't get the land on there. Yeah, here we go. Doing landscapes and things like that, and he's using references for all of these, which I think is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially early on. But was there something that to you guys, like, you kind of found your niche, you found you were really good at drawing one sort of subject matter, but then you really had to stretch to break out and start drawing different things, and you had to like relearn all over again? Sounds like Danielle, that's a yes.
Yeah, Daniel's laughing over here.
The thing is, what made me start on, I was also kind of caught in that cycle that all I ever drew was girls, because they were easier to draw. But I started drawing men because I had a crush on one, and on one particular one, and I had to draw him right.
Nice.
And you know what? God bless the time I had a crush on that guy. Well, not guy. It was actually an anime guy. But what high school girl doesn't have that moment?
Which anime guy are we talking about?
We're talking Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach.
Oh my God.
Great anime.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I don't know. It's very interesting that you get a crush on him, but it's a good anime.
No, but hey, it would work out for me because my husband is as strawberry blonde as Ichigo was. So
That's funny.
It was.
Does he know that it is your early infatuation with this guy that is probably why you two are together? Does he know the connection?
He does.
There?
For a fact, he knew it from the get-go that I had a crush on Ichigo because.
Oh man.
Okay, so cringe warning. I was such a weeboo in high school. I was all obsessed with every anime I could find. Well, not every anime, of course. And the thing is, the first time I met my husband, I kid you not, the first time I ever saw his hair, he was a brand new kid in a brand new school, doesn't know anybody. The first thing I say when I saw him is Kurosaki-kun, like in the highest pitch of voice in the world, and I tackled him with a hug after that.
So predatory.
That literally the very first time we have ever met.
So he knows that. So he gets the hair bit. If he ever like dyes his hair, is it over between the two of you? Like, is it just done?
I don't think I would be over with it, but I wouldn't divorce him over that.
Okay, well, that's good. There's room to breathe there. That's good.
If anything,
Because I'll be the first to tell you, eventually that color goes away.
not gone yet. It's almost been 10 years between us.
I'm pretty sure he's referring to just getting old.
Oh yeah, there it is. That color goes away.
Besides, so I like silver, so if he gets some grays, it just works out better for me.
There you go.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. What about you guys? Do you have anything that you had to kind of break the mold to learn something different as far as how you're drawing?
Yeah. I had almost the exact opposite problem that PewDiePie here had, and actually, I'm still kind of struggling to get over that hump. Is I spent so many years. So I technically I had to do this twice. Actually, I had this problem. So the first time I had this problem because I used to draw specifically DBZ fan art when I was younger. So all of my anatomy and everything that I learned was DBZ, which, as I'm sure many of you know, we should probably most of us know, or anybody watching this later knows, is that DBZ has a very unique style of doing anatomy, and it's not necessarily correct unless you know what you're doing. And even then, there's some things that are just a little off. But needless to say, so I went from drawing that and drawing arms the way they drew them and stuff like that from when I was in high school to having to basically relearn anatomy all over again. So that was the first time that I had a very similar problem. Was I was drawing one specific thing, one specific medium, and that was it. And then I had the, like I said, the exact opposite problem with PewDiePie. This is I've drawn superhero guys for so many years because Spider-Man, Batman, all those guys. Those are my favorites, right? Like the typical favorites. Those are my favorites. I drew them so many times for so many years that like drawing women were lost on me completely. Like it was like, oh, my chicks always look like dudes. What's going on here? My girls have like these like muscular chins and stuff, and it's like I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Muscular chins.
Yeah, dude.
I like it.
It was always something weird. It was always like, their jawline was too sharp or too high, or their eyes looked funny or whatever. I think it was 90% of the time it was the jaw structure that really threw it off. But and then like drawing boobs and stuff like that, like so it was a whole other thing. I mean, I'm much better now now that I know how to apply a lot of those concepts better in ways because of all the foundational knowledge. But it was it's not a fun experience to realize that, well, I'm kind of starting over in a way.
Yeah, it happens though. I mean, that's I don't know, anything that you haven't drawn before, including the thing that you're currently working on, you've never drawn it before.
Yeah.
So to a certain degree, we're always learning, we're always figuring it out.
Oh,
But Matt, have you had anything in recent history that really you had to kind of break out of your comfort zone for?
Recently, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you exactly early on.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
After high school, when you're in high school and all you want to do is draw comics because all you read is comics, then you're pretty sure you have a handle on everything because you're 17 and you already know everything, right? You're good. You're bulletproof.
Yeah.
But then, from talking last time I was on, VCU happened, Kubert School happened, Radford happened. I've never not had a job while I've been in school. So when I was at Radford, I was working in the theater department for their scene shop. And that's as simple as, hey, you like to draw, you design our sets now. What?
Nice.
So that just got like thrown on me. And I really, really, really had to very quickly learn how like architectural renderings were and things like that.
I was gonna say
and in my brain, what's that?
I was gonna say architecture and engineering.
Yeah. Now in my
Like
brain, I've done all these pages of comics, and here's the city, and like you said, here's Spider-Man, and he's swinging through the city. So perspective, yeah, I got it, no problem. 1 point, 3 point, curvilinear. Like, okay, here we go. I know what I'm doing. Right? Set design. There's one stage and it's flat, and these are the dimensions. No, this is very like legitimate drafting is not the same. And I kept telling myself this shouldn't be that hard. I know how perspective and measurements work and how to measure these things in perspective conceptually. No, drafting is very different. But I tell you what, once I was done working in the scene shop, that rewrote my brain, because now if I have to do if I'm laying out a panel where people are in a space occupying the space, I draw the whole space first. Like in a layout, I'm going to have the characters doing what I need the characters to do, because acting, you know, the director needs the actors to act. So I'm going to draw them doing what they're doing, and then I'm going to draw the scene around them. But when I go from layout to actual, I'm going to draw the scene out and then just put the people in it. That way I know everything is to scale. And no, I'm not going as far as I did when I was drafting, but that's how my mind works now. Working in a scene shop just reset basically my methods of production, like the order in which I do things. Didn't change how I draw, it just changed when I draw everything.
I kind of bounce between both. I think most artists do once you're doing comics, is sometimes you just draw the character and you kind of BS the background because there's going to be a giant word bubble that covers most of it.
You can get away with that in a lot of places, you know.
A lot. But then there's also those shots where it's like, this needs to technically work, and the best way to do it, lay out your grids, get them in there. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting it the whole time.
I have found the best times to identify that, like when do I need to really double down on the grids and everything being right. And I have found that interior scenes, when your light source is visible in the panel, because if the light source is visible right away, the reader knows exactly where it's all coming from and the direction that it's going in. And if everything it's touching isn't like just right, you may not know it's wrong, but your brain does. Something
looks off.
Yeah. And I can't remember who said it. Old school comic guy. If it looks right, it's right. If it looks wrong, it's wrong. Okay. Bull, but yeah, kinda.
That does sound familiar. Who said
I can't remember who said it.
I know McFarlane was always big on the rule of cool. Like, if it looks cool, do it.
Yeah.
But
who can argue with the Godfather?
Right. That's the way I work, and Slim Slam is actually trying to break that off of me.
I didn't catch the first part. What was it?
I said that's actually the way I work. Like, if it looks cool, do it. And she's trying to like break that out of me. It's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it does work. At the same time, the name's gonna Alex Ross. There we go. My brain is not working tonight, I'm telling you. Alex Ross brought it up in one of his videos recently. He's like, you get all these young bucks coming in wanting to get into the comics, and they want to do covers, and he's like, Marvel, DC, all these guys have 1,000 of me that they can come to and get the best covers in the world, and our name alone is going to sell more of those covers. You need to be able to draw the mundane. If someone walks into an office, your drawing of the office needs to look immaculate. It needs to be so non-noticeable that your readers aren't picking it apart. Like, why does this chair look wrong? Why does this whole scene look wrong? Is using that perspective and laying that all in. It's not the coolest thing, just by default.
Well, that has become like the epicenter of my work lately, because I'm doing all the stories for Patchwork 2 are written, 3 is written, and now I'm doing the supplemental stories, and I'm doing the artwork for 2. I just did a supplemental story, and the layouts are done, and what I realized is I'm spending a lot of time inside an office, but a lot happens in the second act that's outside of that office. Just get out of there. But I do eventually come back to that office, and you got to move the camera around while keeping a light source consistent and make it visually interesting, visually stimulating, make it narratively, viable. And I found myself creating ways to cheat, which isn't cheating. It's just adding more to the narrative. If the desk is here, I decided, I should put a little desk lamp over here and make sure that his pile of files is over here. And then I thought, okay, if I'm moving the camera over here and I can't see the desk lamp, so I put a coat rack back there and made sure a hat's on it facing this direction. So if I move the camera, the coat rack is still there, but now the hat's facing the opposite direction. I started building in visual cues so that it's almost fail safe. I can't screw it up.
Yeah.
I won't allow myself to screw it up.
Yeah.
And by the time it was done, because I'm adding these things as I go, I got to go back and add it in on the previous page. But by the time I was done, I'm looking through it. I'm going, okay, I've made myself a consistent setting, which feels good.
Mm-hmm.
But now I got to do it. Now I got to draw it to size, like over and over and over.
Right.
And that got me thinking who the really great X-Men artists are. And I will challenge your beliefs, viewers and listeners. If you want to know who the really great X-Men artists are, it has nothing to do with who Wolverine is stabbing on the cover. Go through every issue and see who drew Professor X's office the same way every time.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Oh.
Consistency is key. Yeah.
And now that I've done a story where I have to draw the office the same way every time, some of the people that I grew up thinking were just the best X-Men artists ever, you got lazy.
Yep.
You know? And
Yeah,
I saw where you did it.
Yep. Get that continuity in there. Well, what a lot of people are doing now, and this will be the last talking point, and I'm going to wrap things up because I have to get ready for getting to Detroit tomorrow.
Hey.
What a lot of people are doing now to keep that consistency, but also make some shortcuts so they don't have to draw everything all the time, is they're using apps like was it SketchUp?
Yeah.
SketchUp's one in particular where you can just use it to lightbox, and then you can kind of trace around the room, but you can set up a scene however you want, and then you can move your virtual camera around inside the app. So if you do need to change angles, now everything is captured in the room. You can go from as simple as just perspective reference to literal assets in the room, from the office, like the desk and the chair, to an end table, to frames on the wall. From a comics perspective, is that cheating? Is that a tool? When is it cheating? What do you guys think?
Nah, it's a tool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a useful tool as long as you're creating everything yourself. If you're just downloading and collaging and cutting and pasting and things like that, or if you're taking someone else's artwork to do that, that's cheating. But if you're creating all that yourself, if you're doing the work to create that space, and then you're using that app to move it around, you did that work.
Well, there are some people, what they're doing is they're using, I guess there's a line filter on there that you can set up the room, and then it translates it to inked lines. And all you got to do is draw your characters on it.
Yeah. No, it's still, I think that works. Honestly, that seems to work better for anime. But in comics, where everything is stylized in a way, and everything has to kind of match your style, it almost doesn't work. In so many instances, I've personally tried that. And it just doesn't look and feel right.
I feel like it. I agree, but I agree. But I feel it doesn't look and feel right because when you're doing that, when you're breaking down a setting into just a basic line, all the lines are the same weight and they're dead as hell.
Right.
Yeah.
And in manga, that does work because you're going to gray tone everything anyway.
Yeah.
Or you're going to use some sort of digital version of a zipatone.
Yeah.
And that's not a slam. That's just how it's produced.
Yeah.
That's the look.
Yeah. And anime is they do how many pages in a novel, right? They're not going to once a month. These guys are just, they're beasts, right? They're going in, they're drawing the characters, and they're taking as many shortcuts as they can to get to the end result, because that's the goal, is to get it out.
They don't have a lot of time, so they need to do something like stenciling, basically.
Yeah.
Well, a mangaka is a different kind of business model. You've got the one guy in charge who had an idea and drew something cool, and he's going to be responsible for storytelling, layouts, and your main characters for the aesthetic. But he might have anywhere from 2 to 10 guys in the wings just producing backgrounds based on the layouts he cranked out. So it's easy for him to crank that stuff out when 10 other people that are all trained to use the same software to make it look a consistent way, and then your aesthetic worked in, they can get that stuff done pretty quickly. But it's a lot more. I mean, comics is an assembly line process anyway, or at least it was. A lot of us have trained ourselves to be a little bit more independent. But a lot of manga that's produced quickly, especially like the Shonen Jumps, where you got to get it out. It's not just like a weekly thing; it's like a daily thing. It's an exaggeration, but they crank them out, and it's because they have a lot of people working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just pencil or inker.
Yeah.
It's like 8 people.
Yep.
None of them get credit. One dude who came up with it gets the credit,
Right.
and he only gets to stay in Shonen if he's a top seller. So.
Right. Yeah, and another key difference too between anime, manga, and Western comics is think of size really too. We have the 6x10 standardized comic size, and mangas are half that maybe, right? So you're fitting more panels into smaller spaces, so it's a little easier to read some of those shortcuts, or so easier to miss a lot of those shortcuts that they're putting in there on top of the grayscales and all the effects they do, too. So yeah, comics are very, very detail oriented when you look at them, and it helps that it's bigger. It's almost, and especially modern stuff, it's very like everything is kind of its own little art piece. I mean, unless it's not treated that way, which and there are you'll catch a couple Marvel DC titles, and I'm not knocking them, but you could tell they just tried to knock them out and they didn't care about the quality of the work. But yeah, I mean, think of all the guys that are getting paid the big bucks to do these comic books. Like every piece is like it's a piece of art. They treat it that way.
Yeah. And that's why I have a hard time understanding why comic books are still like $4 or $5. I understand it's mass print, but it's like, I don't know. I could sell a print for $30. No one bats an eye. You sell a comic book for $20 that you put your heart and soul and months into, and people are like, I don't know. I usually spend $5 on a comic book.
Yeah.
It's a painful thought.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that it's weird because that does seem to apply to like Marvel and DC comics. People want them, but that's because people are buying these comics every week, right? Yeah. I think if you're getting a high quality story, a high quality book, and you're getting them when they come out, like with a lot of these indie comics and stuff. Oh yeah. People are willing to spend a little bit more money because. Well, they're not only funding the comic, they're funding the process behind it, the team or whatever you're working with. And I feel like people, because it's not so quickly produced, people feel like they're getting more out of it, so they're willing to spend more money.
Yeah, but when was the last time a Big 2 floppy was high quality?
Right.
That comes out blazing.
Yeah.
Blazing and slaying. Oh yeah.
He's ready. He's ready.
Yeah. Yep.
On that note.
Yeah. Well, that's been a lot of debate is what's going on in that world, but then also you look at some of the bigger indie guys now that are taking their shortcuts because they're getting too big and the expectation is to churn out more books.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe we save that conversation
next
week.
It's so funny. Like, I'll make that joke, but I also just finished Blood Hunt and I freaking loved it.
Is that the new, was that Marvel?
Yeah, the Marvel crossover. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? It's a Marvel crossover. So what? Oh, wait, we're all about vampires here? Cool. I'm in.
Yeah. That's the only reason I know about it is because I drew a Dracula for somebody, and I think that he's in there. Dracula,
yeah.
Yeah. So, see, I know a little bit. I don't completely live under a rock.
I'm from the Gene Colan era, Tomb of Dracula. This guy in this book, he was like, got crazy armor. Way too hot for his age. Super hot.
Well, I drew the one in the armor. That's the one I drew.
That's our guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. Well, guys, like I said, I've got a couple shows I'm doing this weekend. And I have to get up early tomorrow to get some final stuff put together. But let's go around the horn. Let's start with James. You've been on since the start here. What do you got working on? Where can people follow you? And what do you got?
You can follow me anywhere. Literally, choose your pick of social medias. I'm there, Sketching the Beast. Give me a follow. Facebook, Instagram are my two major where I post. But I'm on TikTok and Threads and I don't know, you name it. The only one I'm not on is Twitter. I'm there, but I don't promote. But anyways,
don't risk it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
dangerous.
But I am currently working on. I'm inking Dex Damon #0, part of an anthology for Crimson Titan Studios.
There you go.
So I'm very excited to be getting that done soon. That's going to be 10-11 pages of Dex Damon. It's kind of like the origin before things go wrong. So I'm working on that, inking that now. Trying out a couple new ways of inking, which I'm kind of liking, which I'll document through social media. And I just got my artist sketchbook. This is the sketch cover edition. It's got all of my art and some commentary.
That looks great.
There we go. Good. Good.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So it's got all sorts of stuff in here.
Amazing.
Wow.
So I'll have that at my next show, not this weekend, but the following weekend, and I'll have it on my website soonish. I get the final editions next week. That'll be on my website at sketchingthebeast.com.
Excellent. Good stuff, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, Matt, how about you, bud? What you got working on? Where can people follow you?
As far as socials go, it's really just Facebook. I don't have anything but Facebook. I know. I'm a hermit when it comes to the artwork. I know. I just only want to be producing comics, and I don't know. I'm not really a social media guy. I'm much more of a do-it-in-person guy. So you can find me at any convention and talk your head off. It's fine. Facebook is easy, and I've got it tethered, come through like a text message. So hit me up anytime. Follow me or just shoot me a message. I answer everything. It's fine. What I'm working on now, it's all Patchwork Ends. I just finished up a cover for a science fiction novel that has not been solicited yet, but it will be once it's out. Again, Facebook, I'll be posting like crazy. Believe it or not, I have a DeviantArt. Who cares? It's more of a place for me to like stash things to see. I use DeviantArt to test market. Do people like this or no? And then I'll run with it or I won't. So yeah, Patchwork Ends is everything. You can also find my work available at Comic Art House. Comicarthouse.com is my representation. Patchwork Ends Volume 1 is out. You can, if you're interested in a copy, just hit me up on Facebook. It really is that simple. I ship, and I include shipping and insurance in the price of the book. So I make it as easy as I can. If you want to come to a show, I'll have it with me. Volume 2 is on the way. That's a 2025 release. The artwork for Volume 2 is half done. Volume 3 is completely written. I'm having the time of my life. So if you love indie horror, Patchwork is your place.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it. Oh yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Danielle, thanks for jumping on the stream. What do you got? Where can we follow you? And what exciting things you got coming down the pike?
Well, like James, I'm on most social media, but I'm most active on Instagram. You can find me on Evine Arts, and you actually will be able to find my link tree where you can go to my Twitch, my X account, my Facebook account. So yeah, my link tree has all of those links. I am I'm still working on Abigail. Like, the prologue is available for our collab with Crimson Titan Studios in Noir. And I am actually right now, I finished up the complete outline of where the story is going to go. And right now I'm trying to get the script of chapter 1 finished right now. So I'm super excited about that. But if you guys are interested in like the 1920s and how the occult has really started to awaken around that time, as well as you like art styles that remind you of like Don Bluth with with like JC Leyendecker inspiration and a little bit of Tracy Butler colors. Well, that's definitely my style there. And I actually have a children's book getting created right now called The Lala Bunnies. I have a writer and I have been keeping in touch. I've been working on it for a while, but things kept coming, you know, in between us. But we're finally at the home stretch of getting this thing completely done. So Lala Bunnies will be available and very soon, hopefully by the beginning of next year. And I ask here for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, please check out our friends on the panel here this evening. Check out their socials, give them a follow, hit them up for their books that they've got that they're working on. Where you can find me in the most near future, other than Steve Messenger Art on Instagram and Facebook, is this weekend I will personally be at Motor City in Novi, Michigan, very close to Detroit. We'll be there for 3 days. I'll be in the vendor section. I got lots of stuff. I got lots of new stuff coming out. I'm not going to bore you with the details. I think I will demo some of it at this show. So if you're watching, swing by there. If you're in the Akron area, my family will also be running the Akron Comic Con booth for me. Say hello to my sister and my stepmom that will be there, Lex and Jax. Give them lots of money and buy lots of things from them. And they will be fantastic sales ladies for me, I'm sure.
If someone were so inclined, would they be able to get incriminating or embarrassing information from them at the show?
They will spill their guts, I'm sure. They'll be like, let me tell you what happened last weekend with Steve when he was home, when he wasn't traveling. I'm positive that they've got.
Tell us about third grade.
Yay!
Go all the way back.
See, thankfully, they can't go that far back. The farthest they go back is about. Wow. Okay. Now I'm thinking about it. They weren't there for grade school, but I knew my sister since she was like 3 or 4. It's been almost 20 years now. That's wild. That's wild.
That's enough time to learn something about somebody.
Well, they know all kinds of stuff about me, but the real embarrassing little kid stuff they don't know too much about. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, hanging out. We will see you next week. Same thing, guys. If you want to jump on, I will make the code available for you guys. And then if there's any other artists that are watching that would like to jump in, maybe do a rotating hot seat, that sort of thing. But guys, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again for hanging out. We'll see you.
It's good to see you guys. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.